Hi, I'm David, and I'm back with Magic ManaStrike. I made a claim yesterday that one could almost achieve the entire Magic Pass within the previous season, based on attaining the 790 gems necessary. Now, I checked my video, my first video of the Koth season, and I actually still had 252 gems after purchasing the Koth Magic Pass because of all the new player rewards that they give you. Which means that right now I have only made about 500 gems throughout the entire Koth season. And again, a Magic Pass costs about 800. So a free-to-play player cannot conceivably buy the Magic Pass every season, and that's pretty consistent with Netmarble's monetization strategy. They don't want you to be able to, they want you as a player to give them money, at the very least money for the Magic Pass, and presumably buying other gems and gold to upgrade your cards and other abilities along the way. So just be wary if you are a free-to-play player. I think that because of that fact, I thought about it, and I'm planning not to buy the Vivien Season Magic Pass. Even though I love green, and I love the idea of Vivien, she just doesn't seem strong enough under first impressions, which means that I am sticking with Koth. I am getting a little bored of this deck. I mean, I've been playing it for almost a month now, so if you have suggestions for a deck I could play or a Planeswalker I could use that would be interesting for me to learn, I'm open. Yesterday, the Koth deck was performing well above expectations, winning me many games, so I'm going to continue with the same old Koth deck today. However, I've been considering changing it, specifically putting in the Vent Sentinel, and maybe putting in some more defensive / mid-range cards instead of the aggro / defense that I have, so just changing the playstyle of the deck. I've been thinking about it, and if this deck starts to sort of fall from the lofty heights that I experienced in my previous video, which you can check out here, then I might change it up, but it will require significant gold investment to upgrade the cards that would be in that deck, so I'm still unsure right now, but let's have at least one more video with the Koth deck as it is. Alright, like I said, let me know in the comments if you're liking Koth, if you want Koth to stay, go, change, different Planeswalker. This Planeswalker is Jace. Now, Jace isn't one that I see very often. He's pure blue. And his ability summons two mirror images or specters or something that have the same attack but only 1 health. So the AoE effects of Fire Shrine Keeper and Koth handle that fairly well. Let's see if he's playing a Lightning Tower, which is the blue tower, which is pretty strong. Pummeler and Icefall Dragon, and there's Jace. Okay, so now that Icefall Dragon has begun its attack, I've played Koth, and Koth took out the dragon and the other units. Unfortunately, Koth is not attacking Jace right now. He does have the range to reach Jace before crossing into the territory, and they die at the same time. So that was worth it. There was a good chance there that I had misplaced Koth, because I played him at the right time. I just didn't place him very well to actually attack the Planeswalker. And there you can see that the Fire Shrine Keeper handles the Jace images, and my opponent has let me build up enough mana to play another Shivan Dragon. So Shivan versus Ice should be pretty good. Koth right in front of Jace here to attack both the Jace and the High Tide Hermit. My opponent also played another creature there, which I think was a mistake because Koth is still alive. I'll play Hellrider here because I can, and my opponent has not shown me that he's had any buildings, so I get this nice damage on the tower. I see the final Jace in the back there with the ability already used. Actually, it was used pretty effectively because the Jace attacks took out my Shivan Dragon, but here the Hadron Scouts should probably deal with the images before they die. Actually, they missed the second image and attacked the main Planeswalker, but that's okay. I was able to handle that Planeswalker without use of my own, which was not my intention. I was perfectly happy to use my Koth, but since I didn't, I now have a Planeswalker advantage, which means I will probably seal this game. You can see Goblin Artillery, which wasn't responded to with anything relevant. The High-Tide Hermit was played, but it shells itself as soon as it takes damage, so it wasn't particularly good. Once again, I'm kind of responding to this without a Planeswalker. I mean, I'll play Koth here because I was getting overwhelmed, but my tower doesn't have too much damage on it. I do have to deal the final 600 to my opponent's tower. Usually at this stage, I would start to put pressure on the top Sub-Guardian with my aggressive units, but I don't have the bottom Sub-Guardian, and it's not looking like I can guarantee that I will either. So a lesson that I've stated in previous videos is that you have to be sure that you have a Sub-Guardian before you go for a second one. And I'm playing Koth here with the Fire Shrine Keeper because I don't want to lose the game, and I really have 42 seconds to play Goblin Artillery because Goblin Artillery will do 300 each shot. And here's an example of where I'm just building a slow... So there's Goblin Artillery. I probably win now. But I'm building a slow advantage as I continually played cards defensively when, like, the Shivan Dragon didn't die and the Phoenix got reborn. I was building this slow defensive advantage that eventually protected the Goblin Artillery and allowed it to do its 2 shots on the tower. Yep. So Shock is in there. Is one of the cards I just got. Let's see. Probably completed a day. I did not complete a daily quest. These are just rewards. So I will refresh the summon blue card quest. Use red mana. I will absolutely be doing that today. Okay. Yeah, the Jace didn't seem particularly strong. Something that would have made his deck stronger would have been the Lightning Tower. Might have actually tied if my opponent was playing Lightning Tower. So, alright, this is a Sorin player. I do have my aggressive start, so I'm happy about that. Since Sorin plays black, he might have access to the Skull Catapult. Wow, an aggressive start from my opponent. Okay, so right now, Koth didn't actually take out Sorin. And I'm facing 2 Grinning Demons. Wow, so I have to play Koth again, because otherwise I'm just going to lose. There's no way that my tower alone can handle the Planeswalker and 2 Grinning Demons. So I had to play the other Planeswalker. Circle of Pain here by my opponent is going to clean up my units, but I'm building mana at the moment to respond to my opponent's next push because he's only played 1 Planeswalker, and I've played 2. So I have to be able to respond to things without a Planeswalker. Like right now, Koth needs to kill Sorin, but it's not even close. I mean, can't really understand why that happened that way. It could be because Sorin's ability revives the units, I believe. But look at that, there's a Sorin, and I don't have a Planeswalker to kill him with. Luckily, my opponent didn't back up his own Planeswalker too well, so the units that I was able to play were able to defeat it. But if my opponent had turned his Planeswalker advantage into more of a devastating effect, I could easily be much more behind than I am right now. Okay, since I have the 1 tower, and my opponent does not have my Sub-Guardian, I'm fairly confident he's going to try to get the Sub-Guardian that's already damaged. Therefore, I'm defending it instead of trying to do something more aggressive with the second Sub-Guardian. Now I am being aggressive because my opponent seems to have run out of things to do at the moment. That's only the second Circle of Pain, maybe third I've seen, but it was not played on the tower, which is a good thing for me. But there's all those units over there marching toward his main Guardian that he's not really dealing with. So I am putting on the pressure for the second Sub-Guardian, just in case my opponent is building some kind of push that will eventually take over my lower Sub-Guardian. I don't want to just passively wait, but you can see that push never came. My opponent tried to defend his second Sub-Guardian and couldn't because I had the mana and initiative advantage. So I took that game 2-0. Did I use all the red mana that was requested? Yep. Alright. Claim the quest reward. Alright, then let's keep going. So, this is what I'm talking about. The deck is still good. It could possibly be because I'm reset to rank 8 right now, but it's winning. I'm having fun, so I'm keeping this current version of the Koth deck for now. Alright, this is a Chandra, who's also red, should be the aggressor against me, so I will not be playing the Hell Rider, at least not right away. Yeah, we'll see how she does it. So she plays a Fire Shrine Keeper, which is not a very aggressive unit to march to the tower. I think that's Comet of Extinction or Star of Extinction. Ooh, I think the Beetles are going to be very effective against my Fire Shrine Keeper. I didn't have anything to really do there, so I played Shivan Dragon and then the Goblin Artillery, because Shivan Dragon should defend the Goblin Artillery. Alright, not as well as I had hoped. But we see my opponent's first Planeswalker, so my Planeswalker comes down. Not letting Chandra do too much. Her jump was pretty devastating for me, but my opponent is playing... Well, actually, I missed the Electrostatic Pummeler there placed. And my opponent is playing Event Sentinel. So, with the Fire Shrine Keeper, the way that they're playing their Planeswalker, the Electrostatic Pummeler, and the Vent Sentinel, this is a very defensive version of a Chandra deck. I missed it again, I think, because it was placed behind my tower. Even though this is a defensive version of a Chandra deck, they have way more damage on my Sub-Guardian than I have on theirs, so... things aren't looking super great in the short term, but we have to recognize that we're about ManaStrike and, oh, the Comet of Extinction, or the Star of Extinction. It works well offensively and defensively. Okay, oh boy. So with the Ratchet Bomb and Star Extinction, my opponent has plenty of direct damage to my Sub-Guardian. So I think that a building would have been pretty helpful here to prevent what damage I can get to the Guardian. And the Vent Sentinel is blocking my aggressive units from reaching the Sub-Guardian to do the damage that they need. So I'm probably not winning this one. I mean, I'll play just in case. Yeah, my opponent threw away the Chandra ability to jump towards the Vent Sentinel because they know the Star of Extinction just is doing so much damage to my units. Probably has Vent Sentinel back. Yeah, there it is. What was I going to say? So, yeah, the deck played very defensively with offensive options due to the 2 direct damage spells, Star of Extinction and Ratchet Bomb, as well as the units that they did play, the Electrostatic Pummeler and Chandra, did get damage on my Sub-Guardian throughout the game. So, yeah, usually Chandra plays more aggressively, and the more aggressively Chandra plays, the better I will do against it. Here's another Chandra. Because I can play the defensive units to stop the red's aggressive units. Whereas with the direct damage spells, there's nothing you can do about them. So if they get to cycle to them enough times, you lose. So there's a Shivan Dragon, so an expensive one for Chandra, but probably it signals to me that this is an offensive version of the Chandra deck, not the direct damage version. Alright, so I've already seen the second Chandra here, which means I'm ready to play second Koth. I don't have to, though. That was really good for me. The fact that second Chandra died there to the Swashbuckler. Okay, so now I'm just playing the units that I have, the Phoenix, the Hadron Scouts, so that the Electrostatic Pummeler and Chandra herself don't do too much to my tower, don't make it there. Koth is probably going to die before he hits the tower due to the Beetles and the Phoenix. I don't need to play Dragon, just Swashbuckler. I will play Dragon here, because there's enough units that his AoE attack is going to be worth it. I have one Koth, and I will also have the ManaStrike Koth, whereas my opponent, I misplaced the Hellrider there. My opponent only has her ManaStrike Chandra left, so I'm not going to use the Koth for any reason. I'm just going to save it, because having 2 Koth during ManaStrike is going to seal me this game. I'll be able to play 1, and I won't really care if it dies, but it will just stop the Chandra Planeswalker in her tracks. And then I will have yet another Koth to play, which I will play as soon as possible, for leading a push to the tower. Alright, there he is. Wow, my opponent is playing Star of Extinction. I mean, it's a pretty good direct damage spell. I'm just very surprised that they haven't played it yet this game if they're running it in their deck. So, since I want to get a Hellrider onto the battlefield, I played the Hadron Scouts, and only because they cost 1, using Koth's ability because hopefully he will hit the tower here for the last damage, and now the game is over. So, that's what I was talking about. Koth led the whole push. It was a pretty slow push because my opponent was playing units to distract my units, but Koth led the entire group all the way to the tower, and then they dealt just enough damage in the last few seconds to win the game. So that's how Chandra matches typically go. You just repeatedly stop their aggressive plays and pushes and stuff with your Shivan Dragon, Fireshrine Keeper, Koth. Take as little damage to the tower as possible, and then red just can't pull anything else out. The way that a Chandra deck wins is by taking advantage of Chandra herself. So if you kill the Chandra each time, you will eventually overwhelm. Alright. This time it's Sorin again. Must be getting more popular than he was. No direct response here. Played the Haunted Guardian too far back. So I'm getting some good value out of that Hell Rider. I'm going to play the Vivien Dragon in the back. Actually, I probably played it too far back because that Cursed Spirit is what I think it is. Was able to hit my tower enough. So I was feeling quite pressured by this stuff that I almost just dropped Koth. But I chose to take the damage that was headed my way to save Koth for the Planeswalker. And here I'm playing Hell Rider, far enough back that it gets in the jump. But since Koth survived the interaction with Sorin, he went to deal some damage to the tower. And now I'm a whole tower ahead. Come on, Vivien Dragon, breathe your... Well, that was kind of frustrating that the Blinding Mage is still alive. But my opponent has given me plenty of time to have the mana for another Vivien Dragon. So hopefully it will breathe AoE fire on the units there while they hit Koth, and Koth's ability is active, so he's taking, I forget what percent, but quite a bit less damage. I'm not going to turn this push into a main Guardian attack. I'm actually just going to sneak in another Sub-Guardian attack. Because Koth was so close to dead and the Phoenix was pretty dead, that... whoops. Alright, so my sneaky little attempt at distraction actually caused my opponent to commit to the top lane, which I was not expecting. That's my opponent's running a Grave Titan. Okay. Not something that I saw before just then. So my opponent only played one copy of it this game. I don't think that's right. I mean, it's a very strong unit. I understand that it damages the closest Guardian, but if you're going to play a Grave Titan deck, you need to actually play the Grave Titan. And my opponent has pretty much given up. That was his last option. I will play these cards in the back to defend the towers, just in case. Like another Grave Titan could come down right now, because my opponent knows that he has to not care about the tower damage. So another Grave Titan could have come down, and then I would have had to defeat it, but that game was pretty much sealed after the first minute when I took a tower due to the counter push led by Koth. So I have actually caught up to all my rewards. That's fine. I don't think I completed this Magic Pack quest. No, I didn't. I'll just see this reward. I'll keep playing for now because the rewards themselves are just a guideline, but it's typically nice to open packs as I play. But go ahead and take a look at yesterday's video. It's a particularly long one, which is probably why I've caught up on all my rewards. Alright, this is a Will Rowan. A very tricky one for my deck to defeat because Will freezes the target. So 1v1ing Will is very difficult. And my typical strategy is to 1v1 a Planeswalker with Koth. So here's Hell Rider. My opponent... Okay, I thought that was Event Sentinel for a second, but it's not. I will be able to answer my opponent's Goblin Artillery with Hadron Scouts, so that's a mana advantage. But because of that, I don't have Hadron Scouts for the Ninja of the Deep Hours that I did not see coming. So I'm 2 mana down, which defeats the mana advantage that I just gained against the Goblin Artillery. So hopefully Vivien Dragon can take both these guys out. Okay, he did take out the Goblin Artillery, but the Haunted Guardian was proving too difficult to kill, so I included the Hadron Scouts. And what I need is to cycle back the Hadron Scouts. What I thought I needed was to cycle back the Hadron Scouts for the Ninja, but Apparently I didn't, the ninja died. I mean, my tower is pretty heavily damaged. But I'm going to need to respond to Will in the top lane. Unfortunately, with my... Oh, and now he switched it to Rowan. Yeah, so those were my two ninja answers. Which means I didn't have any answer for the ninja right there, so I chose to play Koth, and oh man, that decision's going to cost me because now he's not going to be able to kill the Will Planeswalker. Luckily for me, he's going to the Sub-Guardian and not the Lightning Tower, but come on, hit it a bit. Okay, so I am really struggling to close out the game. I mean, I have another 50 seconds, and I am ahead right now. But if my opponent obtains both of my Sub-Guardians, if my opponent obtains even one, which just happened, then I need to get the other one to win. So it's proving pretty tricky. Because of the Lightning Tower, because of Rowan as a card. Alright, here we go. So I'm playing Koth in the bottom lane. And then trying to use Hellrider, and here's a Goblin Artillery to get the other Sub-Guardian before my Sub-Guardian died. Wow. So there was a chance that if I left the Planeswalker unchecked, I would have lost my main Guardian, which is why I played the Hadron Scouts, but it also allowed me to cycle through to get back to the 2 aggressive units that I needed to eliminate the second Sub-Guardian during sudden death mode. But one more, with the health that my second Sub-Guardian had left, one more ninja, or even possibly a Will who got to the tower, would have taken it out. So that game was pretty close. And the decisions made throughout the battle to protect the lower Sub-Guardian paid off in those final seconds. Alright, this is a Johnny in a skin that I haven't seen before, so that's interesting, but a Johnny nonetheless. Start off aggressive. My opponent is also starting off aggressive, so I won't follow up the Hellrider with anything. Those Hadron Scouts will be taken care of by the tower, and I will probably play Shivan Dragon to respond to this. I believe it's the Knight of Nubenalia. And actually we see a Johnny, so now that a Johnny's out, Koth is down, and since there is such a swarm of units here, I'm playing everything else that I have available as well. But Shivan Dragon's really cleaning up because it's a bunch of smaller units, so his AoE fire is helping. I probably should have played Hellrider on the bottom lane because that's the tower that I have more damaged. Well, alright. Now the top lane tower's more damaged, so I guess it's okay. We're probably going to run that exact scenario again. The Knight of Nubenalia is marching. She's creating her little disciples. There's a Johnny. So I will let them come a little closer this time. Partly because Spectral Procession was played by my Sub-Guardian, so I needed to handle that, but also because last time I was worried that Koth would cross over and then stop attacking units. Alright, I'm going to throw in another Hellrider. Hopefully his jump stuns the Walking Ballista. It does, so that's pretty good for me. Shivan Dragon stayed alive just a little bit longer. And my opponent probably shouldn't. I was going to say capitalize on this tiny Walking Ballista that's out, but my opponent chose to. Koth died almost before I could take advantage of his ability. So he wasn't particularly relevant. It seems to me like the other cards that I had played were more helpful in that specific scenario, but the outcome's the same. I stopped the push. I took quite a bit of damage to the tower, which is unfortunate. So I'm not going to let that happen again. Preemptive Shivan Dragon handles the Spectral Procession, and Koth handles... oh boy. So Koth killed Ajani very well that time, but mostly because Ajani had been pushed back by the death effect of Fire Shrine Keeper, and right now I need to eliminate the Sub-Guardian there before sudden death, or not before sudden death, but as quickly as possible, because my opponent will play more Spectral Processions on my Sub-Guardian and end the game. So I made sure to play both the aggressive units just in case, to try to get that damage in on the Sub-Guardian, just to, end the game first. Alright, the Planeswalkers have been a nice, interesting variety today. Pretty happy with it. Alright, I think this is the first time I'm playing against Vivien. Maybe I played one yesterday, but this is going to be fun. Oh, I think I for sure did. No one would play Nissa right now with Vivien available. So, yeah, the green Baloth deck I played yesterday. I'm going to assume that's what this is. Start off aggressive just in case. Maybe force them to play something they don't want to, like the Hadron Scouts. Alright, I guess this could be a Vengevine deck. That would be a little boring, because Vengevine has viable decks with Garruk before the season launch. That unit's going to do some pretty bad stuff to my Shivan Dragon, because it does more attack the longer it's attacking a single unit. Alright, there's the Baloth. A Baloth protecting Vivien. So Koth comes out in order to deal with the Vengevine and the Baloth, and hopefully he can get up to Vivien there, but I didn't think that he would, so I played the Hadron Scouts. Vivien's down. So I played the Goblin Artillery because I'm turning this into a big counter push. My counter push got very wrecked by Overrun, so now that I know all the cards he's playing, I'm going to be much more careful. I can't tell if that was Vivien, but I kind of think it was. If it was, I should be very proud that I was able to defeat her without a Planeswalker. Maybe not proud, but I have a good Planeswalker advantage here if that was the case. I almost played Goblin Artillery. I'm not going to. The Phoenix is not enough to protect it. Yeah, so that definitely is and was Vivien. Alright. So here Koth should damage both Vivien and the Baloth. I use his ability right away because I need both of them to die. I really don't want more units played behind the Baloth, but also the Baloth needs to take damage and die before it wrecks my tower. Now, so the tower is gone. Overrun is coming up, and yeah, there's a strategy that I like to employ as well. My opponent is pressuring me in the lane that I'm not fighting for. So what I'm going to turn this into is a fight for the lane and try to use what's there to go get the tower. And my hope is that all of the units that I've played right now, all the mana that's invested into this group, is going to be enough to defeat the whole tower. But with the Baloth, like, it's just marching down the battlefield. My opponent knows that it's not going to eliminate my Sub-Guardian. He just played it. I should say she just played it to distract all my units. To perfect effect. I mean, that's what happened. They all just stood around and attacked the Baloth instead of heading to the Sub-Guardian. So That does look like a fun deck. And Vengevine wasn't the point, so I'm okay with it. I mean, it's just a good tower damage card, if that's all it's used for. I don't like the spam Vengevine decks, but they're powerful. But that deck was a Bloth deck with Overrun, only played once. So they just had it sitting in their dock for most of the game. But I really like the Bloth tank green deck. Very frustrating to play against. Was very effective and played in a style that I can get behind. Alright, Circle of Pain just came down because my opponent is Garruk, who's green and black. Wow, Skull Catapult, still a nasty card to play against, because by the time I've killed one Skull guy, the next one is already there, so I never reach, my damage units never reach the tower. Koth is still alive down there, so he should take out Garruk in a sec. I will play the Goblin Artillery when the Circle of Pain is out, and hopefully, here's 4, so I will play the Hell Rider as well. Skull Catapult was placed in the way, so not too much tower damage achieved there. I've been playing Hadron Scouts this game to distract Garruk. I don't think they've been particularly effective. Wow, the Vengevine play was pretty bad because Koth was right there. Alright, I think I will have surprised my opponent with Goblin Artillery such that it locks onto the tower. Unfortunately, Circle of Pain kills it, so that's not great. Yeah, I don't know if I'm likely to win this game right now. This Garruk deck it's going to get very strong in ManaStrike. I've already been mostly overwhelmed by the various pushes and only defending them to a certain degree. So with double mana, I don't know that I am going to have the resources or cycle to do it. Luckily, Circle of Pain was played right there, so I can place my own stuff outside of it. Wow. Another deck where Grave Titan isn't played until ManaStrike, so this might be like a realistic strategy in most cases, but I don't think it's too great against me. Well, playing it wouldn't be great against me either, because I'm sure that my deck can handle the Grave Titan. So the final challenge here is going to be getting the damage on the Sub-Guardian when there are now 2 Skull Catapults in play. Alright, 2 hits from the Goblin Artillery should do it. That's 1, and that's 2. Bombs in the air, bomb hits the tower. Alright, that was pretty close. The ManaStrike push was not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I think it's because my opponent played Grave Titan for 6 instead of, like, Sylvan Archer and something else for 3 and 3. And then, once again, it's the defensive units blew away the 2 Skull Catapults, and without that group of highly invested mana, I would never have been able to defeat both the Skull Catapults and hit the tower. But since I did have those, my own Goblin Artillery just sent 2 bombs at the tower and won me the game. So, alright, as I said, a nice variety of Planeswalkers today. This is Domri, who you don't see that much. He's green and red, which is a color combination that I personally love. It's just that his ability dashes him from one place to another, so it doesn't really have much of an impact. Alright, we've seen birds and Asian Scouts and Fire Shrine Keeper, so that's 6 mana to answer my 7 mana, so I'm not ahead, but my opponent played some pretty good units to deal with not too much pressure. I mean, the pressure was there, that's why I played those two. My opponent is also running Hellrider. But it wasn't really full push. My point is that oftentimes opponents invest a lot less to defeat my initial Hellrider test than this opponent had to do. Okay, well, to be fair, the fact that he can rush Domri to the back has let him play the Hellrider pretty close to my tower twice. But if you look at what's happening right now, my opponent can't do too much against it. I am a little worried. I'm not playing Koth here because Domri was so close to dead, but I was a little worried that Domri would live long enough to place some dangerous units there, so that was a risk. It paid off because I was right. My opponent had to play Domri defensively, which is why I judged that I could do that. He wasn't ready to make the push, so I assumed that he didn't have the mana or the cards ready to capitalize on Domri being close to the tower. Oh man, I forgot that Koth only attacks buildings in the enemy territory, so now he's just walking along, not dealing with that Shivan Dragon. I'm ready to play my own Shivan Dragon. Once again, Domri close to the tower lets him place a Hellrider there, so I actually lost the tower. That's very unfortunate that I lost the tower for 2 reasons. One, now we're on equal footing because I haven't dealt any damage to my opponent's second Sub-Guardian yet. But also my opponent now gets another Domri, which is being played right now. And getting second Domri, or getting an additional Domri here, means that my Planeswalker advantage is gone. So I had to play Koth to respond to Domri instead of being an offensive option. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for me to actually finish off this tower now. So at the moment, I'm playing to draw, which means defensive units, not the Goblin Artillery. I'm not even playing my own Hellrider. Wow. Since I don't have Koth, I need Shivan Dragon. But Shivan Dragon's quite the investment. Now they'll all go. If it's looking like these units can finish off the tower, which I think it is looking like that to me, I'll send in the Hellrider, which is what I did. But I forgot that my opponent has Shivan Dragon, which was probably why nothing was played, because they were building up the mana for Shivan Dragon, and Shivan Dragon shut all that down. So here it does end in a draw at the end of 1 minute of sudden death. I'm fine with that. I think I could have defended better against the Domri that eliminated my bottom Sub-Guardian, my lower Sub-Guardian. In which case I would have won the game, but I'm happy with the draw over a loss. It's okay. And my point is that at least my mistake didn't cost me a loss. It did cost me a win, but I'm net 0 instead of net negative. So. Alright, I think this is going to be my final game for this video. So, don't click away just yet. Alright. Final battle opponent is going to be Teferi. Okay. So, this is my first Teferi. He's going to be blue and white, just like Dovin. Oh, okay. Yes, so Teferi's ability is that every time you play a building, he generates 1 mana. But my opponent is playing High Tide Hermit, Blinding Mage, Hysterical Blindness, Agent Scouts as 4 of his cards. And the Angel thing. So, I don't know. If I were Teferi, I would not be playing 5 cards in my deck, not buildings. Does that make sense? I mean, I guess 3 buildings is a lot. So I guess I'm not particularly surprised. Wow. So Koth died without killing Teferi. So I'm going to try to kill Teferi without another Koth. Alright, it's not happening. So Koth is down on the battlefield. My second Koth. We're going to use his ability before he dies, but probably be in a second. Come on, hit some damage on the tower, please. Not too much. But we have to keep in mind that I am down 1 whole Planeswalker from my opponent. Okay, I think I was able to defeat Teferi without a Planeswalker. Yeah, so that was his second, and I've also played my second Planeswalker. I do have much more damage on the tower than he does. So that is going to work in my favor. I just have to capitalize on it and actually finish off the tower, which is why I sent in the Hellrider there. But High Tide Hermit's cheap, Griffin is cheap, so my opponent is able to play a lot of things that can all attack. That sounds kind of dumb, but most buildings even can't attack. But my opponent is able to play a lot of creatures that deal with my creatures, and it's making it very tough for me to actually put damage on the Subguardian. Luckily, I have. Oh wow, there was an Ether Squall in the mix. I'm about to win this game. So I'm not super concerned. But my opponent was playing a bunch of small things that were preventing me-ish from getting the tower. I mean, clearly I won that game, so it's not as bad as some of the decks that are running 1 or 2 buildings, and I can never ever hit the Subguardian because the buildings are continually in my way. But it was very back and forth there, and I was worried I would not have the time to chip away 2,000 remaining health in sudden death, or maybe the last minute and 30 seconds. In the end, I could. I think that deck would have been much better running Dovin as a Planeswalker because they had the Griffin and the Ether Squall Ancient. Whereas, again, Teferi's ability is building-based, so you want to be playing useful buildings while Teferi's on the field. And my opponent had no buildings. So that aspect of the Planeswalker was wasted, which is, again, why I think that Dovin would have been a better choice for that opponent, because you can use Dovin's ability, and his Ornithopters are flying. And I've seen Ether Squall decks where it's Dovin, Ether Squall, and Icefall Dragon. So you don't need that much you don't need that many flying creatures to make Ether Squall Ancient effective. So I'll sign off here. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and if you enjoyed the content, please leave a like on the video, subscribe to my channel. Thanks.